Aliens enslaving us. Oh, they are on their way. Neil deGrasse Tyson cries out, confirming the most confusing and fearful discovery made by the Voyager in the past decade. A discovery that scientists were in no way prepared for. Ever since the Voyager craft sent back this disturbing data from space, the scientific community has been unable to sleep, and everyone is walking under a tense atmosphere. Researchers, scientists, and engineers have been scrambled from their stations to combat these mysterious objects that Voyager 1 just spotted. We don't know where these strange objects are coming from or where they are headed, but what we do know is that we have seen nothing like them before. What are these mysterious objects that were recently discovered by the Voyager 1? Join us today as we dissect these answers. Neil deGrasse Tyson confirms that Voyager 1 has detected 500 unknown objects passing by in space. For almost 5 decades, Voyager 1 has been sailing through the highways of space, exploring the deep realms that ground-based telescopes have been excluded from seeing and uncovering discoveries that leave our mouths wide open in shock. A product of genius minds that flow in abundance at the Johns Hopkins Jet Propulsion Laboratory, Voyager 1 has been the golden messenger to the uncharted territory of intergalactic space. This engineering masterpiece has opened our eyes to the mind-blowing wonders that exist in our cosmos. In a recent development, Neil deGrasse Tyson has confirmed that the Voyager has detected 500 unknown objects gliding peacefully in space. This news came as a shock to the scientific community, rattling scientists as everyone began poring over the data obtained by the Voyager 1. Something strange was brewing on the horizon, and it was difficult to solve this bubbling puzzle that had dumbfounded even the best of scientists. Ever since Neil deGrasse Tyson confirmed this discovery, different interpretations have been flying in the air in an attempt to sketch a vivid picture that explains this mystery. If it had been another spacecraft that transmitted the type of bewildering data that was recently transmitted from space, scientists may have doubted the validity of the data. However, it is the Voyager 1 we are talking about here. The space probe that has been cruising through the steamy paths of space for almost 50 years now and has exceeded our expectations. Like a patient who beat cancer, Voyager 1 has exceeded scientists' projected lifespan of 3 years to spend over 45 years in space, uncovering history-making discoveries simultaneously. The most intriguing part about this iconic tale is that Voyager is writing this success story from a very far distance from the Earth. The last time scientists checked, they saw that the space probe was 14.5 billion miles away from our planet, speeding away in space with no sign that it would reduce its pace anytime soon. Researchers say that the space probe has been traveling at a rate 3.6 times the distance between the Earth and the Sun per year. This is one pill that scientists have found a bit hard to swallow because naturally, one would have expected the space probe's speed to have declined greatly given the longevity of its journey in space. On a close look, it seems Voyager 1 is destined to be the exception when it comes to this narrative, and it has shown evidence of this once more with its latest findings. It was just like every other day for scientists when the Voyager 1 slammed exciting news on their faces, one that would stick in their memories for ages. Voyager 1 had stumbled on some mysterious objects passing by in space. This discovery was unplanned, which explains the initial confusion of astronomers when they glanced over data showing that about 500 unknown objects had appeared from nowhere. One minute, we didn't know about the existence of these objects, and the next moment, we had scientists cracking their brains in search of an answer to this puzzle that nature has landed on their laps. Scientists were in a fix, and the blame could be traced to only one guilty party, Voyager 1. Ironically, scientists also knew that the solution to unraveling this mystery also rested on the heavy shoulders of the space probe. Initially, when news of this discovery broke out, some scientists considered the possibility that it could have been a mistake. They thought that the age of Voyager 1 might be catching up with it, and hence it may be transmitting wrong data back to us. If we decide to walk on this unfolding path, it seems like a plausible explanation, given the fact that Voyager 1 was launched as far back as 1977. That's almost 5 decades of active service on behalf of humanity. One can only expect that the spacecraft's computers would have grown weary and started to malfunction, shrinking in their responsibilities and sending back poor-quality information to the ground team. As alluring as this narrative sounds, scientists have advised that we shouldn't tread there because it would be a slap on the selfless spirit of the Voyager. Despite the harshness and unpredictable environment of space, Voyager 1 has consistently churned out eye-opening data about our cosmos. Contrary to the hurried assumptions of skeptics, the space probe has maintained its long life thanks to its dual redundant computer systems. Like its twin, Voyager 2, Voyager 1 came equipped with two sets of command subsystems: Flight Data Systems, FDS, and Altitude and Articulation Control Systems, ACS. This has been the secret power behind the spacecraft's unbroken fighting spirit when it comes to charting through space and uncovering discoveries. The redundancy paved the way for seamless transitions between systems and the ability to activate dormant computer components, thereby preserving their lifespan. When designing the Voyager 1, the engineers back on Earth came up with a plan to help the space probe maximize efficiency. This required that the probe's instruments rely on hardwired logic. They were taking no chances when it came to this area since they were handicapped due to time constraints and limitations in power budgets. The electrical engineers decided the instruments would have to be developed using simplified systems that depended on hardwired logic. Thus, Voyager's computer systems comprised 6 onboard computers organized as a distributed system with 3 dual redundant pairs. Having overcome this hurdle, scientists had to face the next tall brick wall in their way, which was maintaining the systems. This intimidating height was surmounted by coming up with an ongoing power management plan. Here's where it gets a bit tricky. Power management entailed sustaining the operational capabilities of Voyager's computer systems. If we are being honest, this is an arduous task to deal with given the limited power resources available on board the space probe. It was a case of sending a hunter into the deep jungle to hunt for wild animals with only a set of knives. Nevertheless, scientists found a way around this problem by devising several measures to conserve and optimize power usage aboard the Voyager. A good example of these power management measures that engineers came up with is the selective powering down of non-essential systems. Engineers were forced into making this hard decision. Hence, they employed a systemic approach to identify and deactivate components or subsystems that are not crucial for the spacecraft's primary mission objectives. We see evidence of this when we take a quick look at heaters associated with certain instruments that had to be switched off. These heaters were originally designed to maintain the instruments at specific temperatures, so they were operated or performed at optimum. However, the story had to be rewritten by activating because it greatly reduced power consumption on board the Voyager. This reduction in the spacecraft's power usage comes with a ripple effect, an extension of the Voyager's lifespan. It's a win-win situation for everybody. Moreover, we should bear in mind that this decision to power down non-essential systems is not taken lightly. It is a premeditated activity that requires careful evaluation of the trade-offs between power conservation and the scientific objectives of the spacecraft. Whenever such a decision was taken, all hands had to be on deck. Engineers and scientists had to sit together and evaluate the impact of deactivating specific systems on the quality and availability of scientific data. Emotions weren't at play here. It was strictly business based on the facts at hand. The team was driven by the desire to maximize power efficiency while maintaining the essential functionality of the spacecraft so it could continue to gather necessary information about our universe undisturbed. Engineers and scientists alike didn't want anything to hinder Voyager's path when it came to uncovering the deep secrets locked away in hidden realms of space, secrets that the universe has been keeping away from us for centuries. Now, however, selective power reduction isn't the only way that NASA engineers are keeping the Voyager afloat and operating optimally in space. They had another ace card up their sleeves, which they had to place on the table for the benefit of the spacecraft. Alongside scientists, the engineers had to come up with power management strategies that are adapted to the ever-changing conditions of the spacecraft's environment. For instance, as Voyager 1 travels farther away from the Sun, the available solar energy takes a nosedive. We would agree that this is a problem. However, the engineers came prepared as they compensated for this growing threat by ensuring that the spacecraft adjusted its power usage accordingly. This adaptive approach is a masterstroke on the part of NASA engineers and scientists because it ensures that the available power resources are efficiently allocated to support the probe's key operations and data transfer back to Earth. Interestingly, the good news doesn't end here, as there have been ongoing technical advancements and upgrades in power management, which have made room for engineers to refine and optimize the power systems of the spacecraft over the years. A close look at these enhancements would reveal that they involve more efficient power distribution improving battery charging methods, and advancements in power regulation and control. The implementation of well-thought and planned power management strategies has opened an exciting door for engineers. It has made it possible for engineers to extend the operational lifespan of the Voyager 1 craft alongside its twin, Voyager 2. This is a big win for the scientific community and the world at large. The careful allocation and management of power resources has equipped Voyager 1 with the requisite strength needed to keep exploring the depths of space unhinged without fear of failure. The spacecraft has experienced an intriguing scientific journey, one where its critical systems remain functional despite its old age. Hence, it can transmit valuable data and provide eye-opening insights back to the ground team on Earth for as long as possible. If we reminisce on the fact that the spacecraft wasn't meant to last more than 5 years, we would see how much this is a big achievement worth celebrating. The credit for this super performance of Voyager 1 rests solely on the ever-focused hands of scientists and engineers. We can't help but commend their relentless pursuit of ensuring that the spacecraft continues to operate optimally. They spend a lot of time in research and evaluation of what goes on in space to maintain the spacecraft's optimum functionality. However, as much as we commend their efforts, we shouldn't forget that space is an unpredictable environment. Anything can happen there without forewarning. Some unforeseen events come calling no matter how prepared we might be. This recent discovery of 500 unknown objects belongs to this group. Despite our understanding of what goes on in deep space, nothing prepared us in advance for the shocking news that Voyager 1 brought our way. From where scientists stood, all they could see was that Voyager 1 was scared because it felt as if these unknown objects were headed its way with plans of attacking the probe. As soon as scientists got the scary report from the Voyager, everyone was thrown into a state of deep concern. An unofficial state of emergency was declared in the scientific community as researchers and engineers pondered an answer to this maze-like problem that unfolded right in their faces. This discovery was way out of the usual script. On a good day, the Voyager craft was only meant to interact with meteoroids, asteroids, and space rocks during its sojourn through space. So we can understand their initial confusion when the Voyager craft stumbled upon strange objects whose origin we couldn't place anywhere in the directory of space projects we have compiled over the years. Technically, we could say that these unknown objects had materialized out of the blue. The more confusing part was the possibility that the objects could be headed our way. However, in the weeks that followed, scientists soon put this possibility to rest, never to rise again. But they had a tougher nut to deal with. They had to answer the question of why the Voyager sent such worrying data in the first place. As soon as researchers spotted the disturbing data from the Voyager, they didn't hesitate to term it an anomaly. According to scientists, the phrase was the best description of the problem that the space probe had brought to their doorsteps. They informed the public how the signals came in unexpectedly and with no clear way of figuring out what was wrong. What happened was that Voyager 1 started transmitting mysterious telemetry data back to Earth. As if this wasn't confusing enough, they were more shocked by the fact that the spacecraft remained responsive to commands from mission control. How do we explain these unusual readings, even though the spacecraft was responding normally? The only hiccup in this story is that there was a slight delay in communication. Overall, scientists found it puzzling that the Voyager craft's antenna remained pointed to the Earth, ensuring that it continued to receive and execute instructions effectively. In the eyes of scientists, this event was turning out to be a miracle, one that caused them to be soaked in the river of worries. There had to be a scientific explanation for this anomaly. They repeatedly pondered how the spacecraft could be functionally normal yet be sending back mysterious data to Earth. The story just wasn't adding up. Scientists were more bewildered when they noticed that the anomaly hadn't triggered any fault protection systems. This was seriously surprising because these onboard systems are designed to activate when anomalies are detected. These systems are meant to usher the craft into a safe mode that allows engineers to investigate and diagnose the issue. A different story played out during this mysterious event as the fault protection system stayed put and Voyager 1 continued its operations without entering safe mode. At some point, scientists and engineers had to pinch themselves to be sure they weren't in a dream. Researchers were literally in a fix with no idea of where to turn to. However, the ice of confusion that characterized this discovery soon began to melt as researchers kept clawing at it in search of an answer. Their efforts paid out in the end because they soon arrived at the golden door they had been on the lookout for. Researchers found out that the anomaly was linked back to the altitude and articulation control subsystems. It turned out that the ACCS was the culprit behind this worrisome event. According to the Voyager's design, the ACCS was tasked with precisely orienting the space probe and controlling its movements. Imagine the shock on scientists' faces when they found out that the ACCS had been sending telemetry data through an onboard computer that had ceased functioning years back. They couldn't believe their eyes as they discovered that this outdated computer, which shouldn't have been involved in data processing, had by some unprecedented stroke of fate found its way into the telemetry transmission process. Hence, this led to the corruption of the data being sent back to the Earth. This onboard computer had somehow made itself a stumbling block in the transmission chain of data from the Voyager to the Earth. However, what scientists still required an answer for was why this disturbing event was happening in the first place. Why did the anomaly have to spring up from nowhere? Even though they had gotten some relief from the recent findings, their minds still strayed towards the possibility that the Voyager could have seen 500 unknown and baffling objects passing by in space. In an attempt to finally lay this possibility to rest and put their minds at ease, scientists devised a way out. This novel solution involved instructing the ACCS to redirect telemetry data to the appropriate functioning data. They decided to go with this measure because it was considered low risk, and their bet turned out to be right at the end of the day. Although the solution was successfully implemented, they were faced with another challenge, which was the significant time delay in communication during this investigation. They were a bit worried by this outcome, but then it wasn't something worth losing their sleep over. When we remember the vast distance that exists between the Voyager craft and the planet, the gap is so enormous that it is only fair to expect some delay in communication. With a 14.5 billion miles distance between the craft and our dear planet, it takes a significant amount of time for radio signals to travel through from both locations. Here's how the communication between both parties plays out. Whenever the mission control team at NASA's Deep Space Network sends a command to the Voyager, it travels as a radio signal at the speed of light. The Deep Space Network, DSN, is an extensive network of massive radio antennas strategically positioned across the globe that makes it possible for NASA to maintain communication with spacecraft exploring the far reaches of our solar system and beyond. The primary objective of this network is to facilitate two-way communication between the Earth and deep space missions, alongside conducting radar and radio astronomy observations to widen our understanding of the universe. Whenever the Deep Space Network is transmitting data from the Voyager to the Earth, it often uses its channel 18 and usually makes use of frequencies 2.3 GHz. When we take a second look at this, we discover that when sending signals from the Earth to Voyager 1, a frequency of 2.1 GHz is used, and it occurs at the speed of light. As much as this traveling at the speed of light seems exciting, let's not forget the enormous distance separating both the probe and the Earth. Therefore, even at this supersonic speed, it takes the signal approximately 22 hours to reach the spacecraft. What this means is that after a command is transmitted, the mission control team has no choice but to wait for 22 hours before receiving any confirmation or response from the Voyager craft. This time delay explains why the mission team is very meticulous when it comes to the commands that they send to the Voyager 1. They are careful not to make any errors because it would increase their waiting time at the end of the day. They often spend hours reviewing commands and going over plans before they send them and initiate them to avoid issues and unnecessary delays. Time delays would prolong the period required to perform a diagnosis of anomalies, such as the one recently discovered by Voyager 1. Although the popular hypothesis is that the telemetry data sent to the Earth was likely caused by the ACCS receiving a faulty command from an onboard computer, researchers are far from satisfied. They believe that there is something still missing to complete this puzzle. Some researchers are still unsure of the exact cause of this anomaly, as there exist other possibilities such as cosmic radiation, extreme temperatures, and micrometeoroid impacts. The universe's environment can be a very harsh adversary, even for sophisticated spacecraft like the Voyager 1. Moreover, since the Voyager craft is waxing old, it may have been a victim of the adverse and unforgiving space environment. All we can do for now is to keep our eyes glued on every one of these possibilities because scientists may eventually find out which one of them is the guilty party. Moreover, Let's cross our fingers for the next thrilling discovery that Voyager 1 will uncover as it keeps blazing through the deepest parts of the cosmos. Thanks for watching this video till the end. For more exciting space discoveries like this, click the next video on the screen.